Hi, everyone. So excited for today's conversation following a wonderful discussion at Shop Talk earlier this year. Excited to get this group together between Constructor, Shopify, Form Factory, and Chubbies. Today, we're going to be discussing how Chubbies and all of the folks here on this call have partnered together to revamp the product discovery strategy and experience so that all of Chubbies customers are able to shop and find the products that they love from their favorite brand. So really looking forward to the conversation today, team. Nishant, first question is directed to you. Chubbies is known for a huge range of different patterns, fun colors, and styles. Can you walk us through the product discovery challenge that creates today, and how are you giving shoppers enough variety to ensure that they're finding the right product on your site as they search?
First of all, Emma, thank you for having me on this. So to your question, Chubbies definitely has a great assortment of products, which is both an advantage as well as a UX challenge. We have a lot of personality in our catalog, from bold prints, different inseam styles. We have matching sets. Now, if you throw all of that in front of a customer, it becomes less of a shopping experience and more of a stressful journey. So the goal is really not to show everything that we have in the catalog to the customer, which really helps reduce some of that decision fatigue, but still giving that customer the feeling of exploring something new and exciting and fun, which is what the brand is known for. And that's where Construct really comes in. We have used search queries, browsing behavior, intent signals, as well as personalization to create some of this guided discovery for the customer. So someone shopping for some bold prints for a vacation should be completely different as compared to someone who's searching for a casual pair of shorts. Additionally, we also have our search, browse, merchandising rules, as well as recommendations, all kind of working in tandem so that it gives customer that feeling of a connected experience. But at the same time, it's also giving them the confidence that they're searching for something that they want while removing some of that underlying friction.
I love it. I think that we have really partnered closely to ensure that customers are able to find what they're looking for in the right context and at the right time. We'll go into that a bit later during today's discussion. Pivoting the next question over to the Form Factory team, Duncan. From an SI perspective, when you first took a look at Chubbies' catalog, the complexity, the number of SKUs, as we just discussed, can you tell me a little bit about that complexity and how it may have changed the way that you approached this build?
Yeah, I think in the end, every merchant, regardless of what their catalog looks like, wants and really needs to arrive at a simple experience. Like Nishant was saying, we need to make it non-overwhelming and relatively easy for people to find what they're looking for in a catalog like Chubbies. So for us, we're really trying to make sure that the shape of, the catalog, because we overhauled the catalog as a part of our migration for Chubbies, and ultimately how that catalog was consumed and connected to services like Constructor, lined up to the way that Chubbies wants to run their business. What merchandising levers do they need? What do they want to surface to what users? For us, it all has to kind of answer back to that. So we want to make sure that the Chubbies team has all the control they need to show, a specific style of clothes, a specific subset of their catalog to a subset of their audience. And they need to be able to do that repeatedly and rapidly change it in a way that doesn't overwhelm things from an operational standpoint. So that was really our lens, was understanding very deeply how they wanted to operate and then making sure that all the tools and the catalog were configured to support that.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for sharing. Nishant, back over to you. As we think about the evaluation process, what was your experience like going through Constructor's proof schedule? What stood out to you during the evaluation and what surprised you?
Well, I can say one thing. The proof schedule was definitely really well defined. it was easy to kind of go through the process. It was clearly defined in terms of what we're looking for, what data, what results we should be keeping an eye on. Moreover, the team was great. So overall, extremely pleasant and positive proof schedule. I would say that having something that's so well defined really helped us also plan ahead and make sure that we could align resources and kind of go through this evaluation in the right manner. So I would say key things, the technical lift was really low. So we could get, whatever pixels code kind of added to the site, make sure everything was set up. Having Shopify as the underlying platform provided us the connective tissue to Constructor, so we could sync our catalog as well as all our product metadata pretty easily. And then really being able to meet with the team and understand what's going on in a simulated environment, look at search queries, understand what would happen, what wouldn't happen, and kind of adjusting some of the rules on the fly and seeing how the AI would adjust to, ways people were browsing was really the key to us finding kind of a sweet spot through that proof schedule. So I would say, again, these are all things that stood out for us, but overall easy to go through and something that was not as daunting as you would kind of expect when you're evaluating multiple platforms during an evaluation process.
I love the feedback and so happy to hear that you had a great experience with our teams. The proof schedule is unique to Constructor, and we are rooted in ensuring that as brands are exploring a potential migration over to our platform, it's rooted in data. So you're able to find that throughout the proof schedule. You also alluded to the partnership with Shopify. I know that Chubbies has been with Shopify since the start, but I'm curious, during that transition, were you evaluating any other platforms or vendors, maybe a CMS or a PIM?
Yeah, so we try to keep some of these migrations, evaluations, I would say fairly focused on the problem. We knew that we had to improve our search, browse, and recommendation experience, so we kind of kept it focused on, that use case with doing due diligence across, what we really needed to solve for. So to answer your question, no, at that point of time, we kept everything status quo. So we had the same platform, we had the same tools that were connected so that we weren't adding a lot of complexity to the process. And the evaluation was as consistent as we could to really understand the lift that we would get as we would kind of, I would say, integrate a new tool into our tech stack.
Wonderful. I appreciate it. The next question is directed to Nishant and Duncan. Throughout our conversations, what we've heard come up time and time again is ensuring that you are meeting the customer where they're at in their journey, taking the right product and placing it in front of that individual at the right time. So opening this question up to you both, can you give us an example of a search query or a browse experience that used to be a problem prior to coming to Constructor? What was that sticking point, and how has Constructor and your teams worked together to fix that?
Yeah, I can go take this first. I think I have two examples that stand out. So we have a lot of patriotic products, collections on our website. And something that stood out was someone searching for a patriotic product and ended up with the New England's Patriots product, essentially. So, while it kind of makes sense in terms of the words, it might not be the best experience for someone whose team is not the New England Patriots. Another example is someone searching for red, white, blue July 4th collection. We have products that have those colors, but they might not all be combined together, right? So it might not be exactly what they're looking for, but still might give them a result that is less than adequate of what they're looking for. So I would say those two examples really stand out as what was missing, somewhat of a static result that you may find. And then as we went through the proof schedule with Constructor, we found that we were able to really surface results that aligned with what customers were wanting to get. It didn't first result, but still at the same time, it was something that was front and center for them to notice.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, I think, as we look out at most e-commerce experiences, or a lot of them. They're kind of, from a search perspective, they're sort of wired up to serve the most ardent supporters of each brand, you know? So they're kind of mostly, a lot of these search experiences are good at surfacing things for people who already know exactly what they're looking for. So, with Chubbies, for example, you've got a bunch of very creative names and a specific shape of the catalog that once you start to buy things, you start to know. So, hey, I want to buy the Caconators, and I want to buy them in 5.5 inch inseam, or whatever the case may be. Those folks are, like, you want search to work well for them, but a lot of times brands like Chubbies are sending a lot of new members, into the experience that maybe don't have the lexicon. They maybe are looking for something they think Chubbies will serve, but they're rarely going to have the right words to string together to get that. And I think for that, services like Constructor do a great job of kind of trying to determine some intent behind the words, regardless of how things are phrased. Like Nishant said, it's like, what can we infer about what they're looking for when they don't have the exact terminology, to get them right to what they need? And I think that's a huge opportunity, especially for brands that are having a lot of, new members of their audience coming in and shopping.
Totally. And if you're not able to meet them where they're at, that could result in them looking elsewhere. So, really appreciate the examples and love the NFL collection, Nishant, and thinking about patriotic and just ensuring that if there's an overlap for someone, great. If not, helping them find exactly what they are looking for. So, Nishant, another follow-up question for you. As we're thinking about the impact that this has had on the merchandising team, curious, how has this alleviated potential manual efforts, or what did the experience look like for that team prior to migrating over to Constructor?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say that prior to using Constructor, I think there was a lot of manual merchandising rules that needed to be set up, slotting, if you may. We had to look through the data to understand search queries, create synonyms, so that we would have some results showing up when customers search for products that, or certain keywords that exactly weren't matching with what products we had in the catalog. I would say after implementing Constructor, we definitely saw that the work was less manually extensive, or I would say we didn't have to be in the platform on a regular basis making all of these changes. We allowed AI to make a lot of the optimizations and surface results that were relevant to the customers. But at the same time, we also had a lot of data to explain what was done and how things were performing. So I think combined with less manual merchandising that was not really intentional, combined with having the data to show the results, was a powerful combination for us to really unlock value for us and as well as for the team.
That is awesome to hear, and really love, again, it comes back to the data. So you taking a look at what's working, what's not. That leads me to a follow-up question related to our continuous optimization program. Curious to learn about your experience running these tests to fine-tune the algorithm that is powering the site experience to always ensure that we're optimizing for the best experience for the customer. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience with the COP program? What stands out to you?
Yeah, this is something that was really interesting during our I would say, proof schedule as a pre-sale cycle, where the COP was spoken about as far as, you implement Constructor. It's not once you're done, it's not the end of it, right? We might have less manual work to kind of do on the platform in terms of setting up rules, but at the same time, the COP program would allow us to keep search and browse an important part of the product discovery process. So it's continue to optimize what we show customers, understanding what's happening, and then using those signals, learnings to optimize from there. So far, we've run a few A/B tests to really optimize overall algorithms. One of them was to show results with more accuracy based on what users were searching. And then another one was to really prioritize some of our browse pages based on different products that would rank again based on relevancy and intent. And both of those have shown about a 10% lift in add to cart conversions, which has been great. So again, all of it translates to overall revenue for the business, but seeing us optimize incrementally with some of these tests has really been, I would say, the highlight of this COP program, where it's never done. You're always thinking about what's next, and you're always optimizing to be better at what you can do.
Totally. It's an evolution. It's an opportunity to continue to fine tune and find more learnings that will help inform the strategy moving forward. Pivoting back over to the Form Factory team, Duncan, from Form Factory's perspective, what does it look like to implement Constructor's search and browse on Shopify for a brand like Chubbies? What are some of those key architecture decisions, and how does Form Factory support during those implementations?
Yeah, I think for it's maybe tempting to think of Shopify merchants as being all very similar in shape and size and complexity, but Chubbies is sort of a different beast in that they have real complexity that arises in part because of their catalog and some of the things that they do. They've been on Shopify forever and ultimately have evolved their approach. I think if I think back to what Chubbies was like when we first started relative to kind of how they're operating in a business now, it's unbelievable, and I think a testament to how Shopify can scale with companies as they grow and change the way that they operate and change, the level of success that they're having and what that demands. So, in this particular instance, Chubbies is on Shopify's composable stack called Hydrogen, which allows them. The gift and the curse of that architecture is that you have a lot of freedom in how you implement every partner like Constructor. So we have a lot of ability to ensure that, Constructor really is built in a way that supports, again, what the brand wants to do and how they want to operate their store. But it also forces a lot of conversations and considerations, at that scale. Rarely is any integration just a plug and play, a set and forget, like I'm going to single click install this and then we're going to be off to the races. There's just a lot more decisioning and configuration that's possible and really needed when you're operating at sort of Chubby's scale. So yeah, I think ultimately we're really trying to take the time to understand, again, like, Constructor has a lot. It's not super opinionated in terms of how you integrate, which makes it a great fit for brands that have some complexity in their stack and have multiple pieces of technology that need to work together and all kind of operate in harmony. For us, the answer, though, in the beginning is always the same in terms of really deeply understanding, again, what are we trying to get out of this? What controls do we need? And making sure that we're configuring it in a way where Chubbies has like maximum moves after we set things up to continue to kind of follow performance and follow success with additional changes and evolution of that integration over time.
It's clear how closely your teams have worked together to make this a successful implementation. So I really love to see it. And like you said, Duncan, it's not a set it and forget it. We're continuing to work together, finding new iterations that work for somebody like Chubbies. Nishant, a follow-up question. Based on your experience working with the Form Factory team and everything that they brought to this implementation, what would you tell another brand that is potentially considering a project like this?
For anyone considering a project like this, I would say make sure you do your due diligence. And that's not only when you're selecting a partner like Form Factory, an integrator, or tools like Constructor. I think making sure that you can really break down the problem to its core, understanding what you need to solve for, defining your use cases and requirements, and then finding the right partners and tools to work through the problem collectively, and making sure that everything is aligned and everyone's aligned in what you're trying to achieve, right? You don't want to have different trajectories or different agendas. It's like, hey, this is what we're going to do, but this is what the brand needs. And by the way, we solution in a different way. So everything needs to align. The roadmaps need to also kind of work together. So when you think about a tool, you need to make sure that, hey, this is how we are envisioning scaling up our program. And this is where the tool is going to help us kind of get to the next level. So I think it's a lot of filling in those blanks and making sure that you have the right folks, right resources, right tools, right partners all working together in tandem. And communication is constant, because sometimes assumptions break or make projects, and you want to make sure that everyone is, like I said, aligned with what you need to do and what you need to achieve. And especially keeping an eye on timelines, right? So if you have migration timelines and deadlines, you're upfront about that, and you're not letting costs go out of the whack. And also at the same time, you're able to report those timelines out to your executive leadership to make sure that overall the project is well funded and it's delivered based on what the milestones are.
Absolutely. I love the thoughtfulness that we're bringing up throughout this conversation, and just ensuring that as you're selecting a partner, you're not only considering that, but other things to come throughout a migration or a change. Dustin, next question is for you over at Shopify. We're thinking about Shopify as the foundation here. And I'd love to learn a bit more about how the Shopify platform is enabling partners like Constructor and Form Factory to deliver this kind of personalization throughout the search and browse experience. What are you seeing within the product discovery space today?
So I like to think of it that Shopify gives partners like Constructor and Form Factory the commerce primitives that they need in order to not have to rebuild anything from a commerce layer. Our storefront APIs, our web pixels, like Duncan mentioned, the combination of hydrogen and oxygen, and event streams specifically for Constructor means you can plug in your ML directly into the catalog and our behavioral signals, and you can focus on quality product discovery. And we'll handle the checkout and the payments and everything at scale and compliance. As far as what I'm seeing across the ecosystem, specifically from an on-site search perspective, it's still a top conversion lever for enterprise merchants, and there's a lot of focus there. As we all interact, like in an LLM area, our expectations have changed, and we no longer can go through anything that's rule-based. We want something conversational as AI agents reshape how we all personally discover products offsite. When you're on the .com, merchants need their data surfaced in a structured way that humans and machines can, give them the right experience that they're expecting off .com. And I think one of the other things I see a lot is this type of partnership that Nishant was mentioning. It's really important in these elevated composable installations. And specifically here, it's a four-way partnership where everyone plays to their strength. We own the Copper's platform, Constructor owns the intelligence layer, and Form Factory owns the deliveries. And ultimately, Nishant and Chubbies get the strongest option at each layer instead of one vendor stretched too thin and quite honestly, giving growing pains and an unpleasant customer experience.
Very well said. Thank you, Dustin. Nishant, back over to you. Pivoting to talk a bit more about some of the growth metrics and the business impact that you've seen with Constructor. You shared throughout the continuous optimization program that you've seen a few lifts, but are there any other growth metrics that have really impressed you that you would like to speak to related to Constructor search and browse?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we really missed out on was running a true A/B test at the start, where we could compare our previous search and browse experience with Constructor to see what the incremental lift was. but we were able to get some sort of a simulated understanding of if everything was status quo, what lift would constructor provide, with just the LLMs and AI kind of driving some of the relevancy and behavioral signal sort of search and browse experience. So that was definitely, I would say, a not insignificant lift from many standards. So I think we saw that conversion would increase 43% and revenue per user would increase 31%. So definitely a big improvement. But another piece I would say, in addition to what I'd mentioned before, just in terms of the COP program, we did compare our search page conversion, so search page to checkout conversion, year over year, right after we had gone live, and kind of monitor that over a period of time. And we saw that people browsing on mobile saw about a 20% increase in search page to checkout conversion, and I would say greater than 50% on desktop. So again, people browse on different platforms, and we saw that improvement again based on relevancy, accuracy, and search results, which kind of really translated to overall revenue. So again, these are some of the metrics that we kind of keep a track of, and these are important for us because anything that impacts overall revenue is relevant. And improving search consistency, search results, accuracy, and getting people more confident in what they're searching for and what they see, and allowing them to take certain actions based off of that is really important. So again, all of these results have been, I would say, really a happy medium for us, where we could have surprised plus satisfied plus also want to drive further improvements. But yeah, I would say that's where we are right now, and definitely something to continue working on.
Exactly. Always looking for future improvements. Thanks so much, Nishant. This question is for the larger group. Nishant, I'd love to hear from you first. As we think about agentic commerce, this has come up a few times. I would love to take a few moments to focus on it here, though. What does the future look like for Chubbies across search and product discovery? And more specifically, what investments should merchants be making now to prepare for whatever comes next as we enter this new era of agentic commerce?
Yeah, I'm gonna break this down into, I would say, a few parts. I think that there is a component of improving the overall search and discovery experience, which I think, there's components of intent behaviors, but I think also kind of bringing in personalization, which is not only what people do on the web, but also omni-channel, I think is extremely important. So how do you get some of these intent signals and behaviors from people shopping at different touch points and bring that in to improve the overall product discovery experience on the web is something where we can definitely unlock value as a brand, but also would benefit other brands that are trying to really improve on with product discovery. The other piece I would say is with on the agentic side, brands really need to focus on enriching their product data, the catalog, and making it readable not only for humans, so customers, but also for different agents, right? So you have different people and different customers, they really shop in different ways. So their product discovery experience might originate on one place, might continue on another place. Agents being kind of a large way of searching for information now. And as that continues to grow, you need to make sure that all of these different agents can understand your product hierarchy in the right manner, your product catalog, your naming conventions, your prints, everything in a manner so that when they surface results, it is relevant to the customer at that point of time, and that could lead to an action, right? So you don't want that to end in no action. So that's where I would say that's kind of the next place of investment is enriching data and also helping LLMs and agents understand your catalog and product data together. And this is where I would say this is kind of a nice place where tools like Constructor can really come in and play a big role, because we've already integrated Constructor into our tech stack, right? So they understand our product catalog, they understand our hierarchy, they understand the complexity, they understand what our use cases are. And now being able to bring that intelligence layer, feed that into LLMs and agents, I think would unlock really a lot of value. So I think this is where it really comes down to selecting the right partners and kind of keeping an eye on agentic commerce and enriching your data, making it accessible, but also working with the right partners that can make that data easily available versus the brand having to do all the heavy lifting twice, once with the tool and then once from the agents. So I would say those are the two areas that I feel are most important. And then again, from a constructor standpoint, really improving the guided product discovery through search agents, through smart AI quizzes, I think are all ways that customers can really discover products in different ways as they shop and find something that's really relevant to what they want.
Wonderful. As we are closing out today's conversation, I would love to hear if there are any last thoughts or advice that this group would share with a brand that is wanting to improve their overall site experience, customer experience, and ultimately drive more revenue.
Kind of going back to what we touched on earlier, I think the more, and I bring this up because the Chubbies team is really good at this, the more that you understand the state of mind and the perspective of people visiting your site, the more you're able to build experiences that are going to meet them and speak to them. So again, we often just see brands that maybe have an influx of traffic from ad campaigns that are coming in, and they don't really have the tools or the framework or the designs or the functionality to meet those folks and answer the questions that they're arriving to the store with. So that becomes even more important, I think, in sort of the era of AI shopping, where you really have to understand what are people typing into ChatGPT to initiate their shopping journey, and like how well are you situated to meet that need and deliver for what problem that they're asking ChatGPT to solve for them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And kind of maybe marrying what Duncan said with what Ishant said is making sure that you're asking the LLMs what, from a top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel, what are some of the best reviewed products in your space? What's the top use case for this product? What is the top, sustainable materials in fashion, right? Bottom of the funnel is this brand more valuable than that brand, and building content around that, or even product attributes around that to make sure that you're including that. Because and I think about this from all the way out, if I look out 3-4 years, we're not going to talk about agentic commerce. We don't talk about mobile commerce anymore. It's just commerce. This is going to become a new way of interacting. And there's a lot of brands who aren't seeing the value in it right now. They're not seeing conversions right now, but you're seeing the traffic and the discovery from it. And so there will be a gap that happens from early adopters and those who are laggards, because you're making the investments now. You're building the content, you're fixing your taxonomy and your bad product data attributes that have been there for years because they just become more exposed in this data.
And I'm just going to add one thing, I think is in addition to all the thoughts that Dustin and Duncan have shared, I think it's really testing as much as you can. So in addition to enriching your data and making everything personalized, I think it's testing out these different experiences to really hone in on what customers want and how they search for stuff and what actions they take based off of what you show them. So test along with everything else that happens.
Fantastic. We are building for the continued success of Chubbies. I love it. Thank you so much, group. It has been so wonderful to hear about the collaboration and partnership, the thoughtfulness of this entire group that has gone into the Chubbies implementation. Again, Nishant, we're so excited about the continued success for Chubbies and a wonderful summer ahead. This concludes today's discussion. Thank you so much to everyone for dialing in.
Thank you.